Yeah.
So last time we started study, but was barely was barely done. It's a big study. I mentioned last time that we were able to do just a third of what we were supposed to do, but I'm thinking that we were not even able to do even a small percentage. We were just able to do. We just got a glimpse of what all this is about. Because yes, for those who are not there, what we were talking about was yes, gender and sexual orientation. Yeah. So we were able to look at sex. Um, Steve, are you signaling me or you can't hear me? Isaac, you can hear me? Okay. So we were able to look at sex, and I can say that these three topics are the same in terms of what they entail. You know, not in terms of what is meant by sex, gender, sexual orientation, but if we look at sex, the amount of information or the amount of material that we're supposed to go through in order to understand sex, or if we go through gender or go through sexual orientation, the amount of information that is in these three topics is not the same. So I wouldn't say that when we went through sex, we went through just a third of this. I think there is, like in gender, there is just so much to go through. There is so much to go through in gender. So we went through steps. Steve at the following Sabbath was able to tackle a bit of gender, and so I am hoping that we will look more into gender. Maybe touch on a few things that he didn't touch on, or maybe we can just go through what he already did go through. So there is a lot of information uh, here, as I have already mentioned, and we can't go through everything right now in this class. It's not possible because over lunch I was talking to Kina Sabina and Dodo, and yeah, we were talking about how there are people who have taken up, these studies, as a profession. There are people who do gender studies, and they study that all the way to, someone has a PhD on gender studies. And those people have studied out gender, they have studied out sex, and what all these things mean. And yeah, so it's there is a lot to learn, there is a lot to question, and yeah, so what we need to learn on this is just, there is so much. So what we'll be doing is just going through the simple bits, what we can understand, sort of like a summary of what, yeah, so that we can create our working knowledge, such that when someone says gender, at least we know. So when one says sex, we know what they are talking about. When one says sexual orientation, we know what that person is talking about. Yes. I don't think I'll give a recap, but let me give a recap. I'll give a recap for purposes, so that I can bridge to now what I want to talk about today. So we spoke about sex, And when I began, I say that the objective of this study is to, first of all, show that sex is not gender and it's not sexual orientation. So these are three separate and distinct subjects. Also to show that sex is not male or female. To show also that gender is not masculine or feminine. To show that sexual orientation is not gay or straight. So what do we mean by all this? When we say sex is not male or female, gender is not masculine or feminine, what we basically meant was it's binary versus a spectrum. So when we say gender is not masculine or feminine, what we are saying is gender is not binary. Or when we say sex is not male or female, what we mean is sex is not binary. So these things are what? Sex is a spectrum, gender is a spectrum, sexual orientation is also a spectrum. So if you what do we mean by something is a spectrum? Take the mic so that you don't have to repeat.
I'm going to give a breakdown idea on what I understand by spectrum. By spectrum, the meaning is not it's not binary. It is we like have the extremities and then it's a range. Yeah, so a person's sexuality is a range. It can be a range. It's not
necessary.
like this. It's not binary. Yes. So to come up again, a spectrum for me implies a range. We have the idea that sex is binary, meaning it's just male and female, but we're saying those are the extremities. So we have intermediary identities that are not defined as just male or female.
All right. Yeah. So maybe as we go on with the recap, those who are not there will be able to see what Effie is talking about when she says that it's not male or female. Those are two ends in like a line, and there are all these possibilities in between. Yeah, you don't have to be male or female. You can be anything else, and that's anything else lies in between. Lies in between male and female. So we say that when we talk about sex, we are talking about these biological characteristics that determine whether a person is male or female, or anything in between. So we say that sex is generally determined by, we listed some things. We say sex can be determined by hormones, hormones like testosterone and estrogen, which we'll go through that again. So sex is also determined by your external genitalia. It's determined by internal reproductive organs. This includes the gonads, that is the testes and the ovaries and uterus, fallopian tubes, all that. We also say sex is also determined by sex chromosomes, that is simply just genetics. So that if someone is atypical female, they have what sex chromosomes, they have XX. And if someone is a typical male, they have XY. So when you say that sex is determined by sex chromosomes, these are the chromosomes that we are talking about. Sex can also be determined by secondary sexual characteristics. It's also determined by hormone response. So having listed those things that determine sex, we saw that these things do not always have to match. It can happen that there is a disconnect, because typically it's assumed that if you have XX sex chromosomes, you will have a uterus, you will have fallopian tubes, you will have ovaries, you will have a vagina, you will have estrogen, and you will have breasts. That is what is typical. But then a disconnect between these determinants can happen, such that you find that someone has XX sex chromosomes, but they have, in terms of internal reproductive organs or gonads, they have what? They have testicles. So you see, the sex chromosomes do not match the reproductive organs. So we saw that they don't always match, and they will not always agree. So what occurs now that happens is we have a different sex, because now it's not a typical, it's not male, or that person is not male, that person is not female, that person is something else, yeah, because maybe they have, yes, they have XX chromosomes, but they have testicles. They have testicles. They have testicles, but they also have what? They also have a vagina. So this is someone who's not a typical male. This is someone who's not a typical female, but they are commonly referred to as intersex people. So what's the objective was when we were looking at all these? Because we also saw that you can have XX and XY, but it doesn't have to be XY. It can be X, XX, it can be X, XY, it can be just X. So you see, it doesn't have to be this, it doesn't have to be this. There are all these other possibilities that can occur. So the point in all this was to show how, even in reality, biologically, sex is not what? It's not binary. There are all these variations that can occur. And these people are neither male nor female. They are somewhere. They are somewhere in between. So the point in doing all that was to try and show that sex is way more complicated than just male and female, and you can't just put people in boxes. Yeah, you say you're either male or female. Check one box. You can't put people in these two boxes because sex is more complicated than that. It's more than just male and female. There are all these other variations that can occur. So someone asked, so I'll be trying to answer the questions that were asked as we continue. I don't think I wrote this down, but someone asked whether these variations are natural. Yeah? Whether they occur naturally, or who asked that question? Was it you, Steve, or was it okay? You were rephrasing it for me. Do you remember it?
Yeah, it was whether in the part of class, that was the thing. Yeah, whether in the part of class, the one that is variation.
Okay.
Whether they are coordinated.
Okay. So someone asked, I don't know who asked, when Adam and Eve were created, yeah, they were created male and female. But maybe another question: where did all these races come from? Yeah. Where did all these races come from? You understand when I ask where did all these races come from? Because we have people that we have so many people in this world. There are different races, people who look completely different just from their physical appearance. Like if you're in Asia alone, people don't look the same. Yeah, in Asia alone, people don't look the same. People in Europe, people in South America, people in Africa don't even look the same. you're able to tell, someone who's coming from one part of Africa from someone who's coming from another part of Africa. So where did all these variations of race come from? Where this? Sorry.
The method is a matter of fact. That figure. Like I mentioned that as a matter of fact.
Okay. Now I'm asking people, where do they think all these variations of race came from? Or maybe if you will put it differently, do you think that these variations of race were God intended? Because honestly, I'm not scientist, but I believe that we all came from our first parents, Adam and Eve. So Adam had his genetic makeup. Eve also. And then now the entire human race just, we are somewhere here full of humanity, billions of people, but with all people really same parents. Adam has his genetic makeup, and Eve has genetic makeup, and I don't remember how it works, but so you had Adam and Eve, and maybe there are these characteristics that Eve has and that Adam has, and what is here? Testas. No, I'm not trying to show like say in terms of sex. I'm just using this. Let me add this actually. Let me just put it like this. Male, female. So Adam, Eve. I don't remember how these arrows used to go. How they pass their genetic material to their offspring. It's like this, and then
Oh yeah.
I don't remember how it used to happen, but you get my point, yeah? They are passing their genetic material to their offspring here. I just know that they are four, but I don't know how it is.
They are all have to have experience and then they are they are
Yeah.
like for the XY, now then you could have like this, then you could have like this. So you have XX, which is Y, and this X, which is XY, and you have XY, XX. So if this one X and Y is a what in either part, you have 50-50 chance of either a boy or a girl.
Okay, but my point is not about getting boy or girl offspring. My point is say Adam is tall, and Eve is short, and then their offspring, there are some who will be tall, maybe there are some who will be short. Yeah, they have. My point is they have all these characteristics, or they have these characteristics that they are passing to their offspring. So, and there are only two of them. So, and then somewhere down the line, I don't know at what point, there are all these races, all these people that just look completely different. There are all these variations of humanity, of people with different skin color, different hair textures, different heights. So where do all these variations come from? And do we think they are God intended?
Yes.
They are God intended.
This crossing is natural.
Because this crossing is natural, right? What do the rest of you think? That's just her. One thing. Do you think this is natural? You know, us having all these races, and do you think it's God intended?
Yeah, for me, I think it is natural. And during lessons from what Jacob did with Atlanta, there are those sheep, the sheep, there's something he did, they came a certain color, and put their baby down, they, when they are born this color, they are ignorant, when they are born this color, they are ignorant. Then they start, and I think the same thing applies to now.
So you think it's natural? It's God intended? Um, yes.
Yes, so what I wanted to say is that most of this relation is due to maybe human beings uh, going away from the intention of God. We understand that when creation God created everything that He created that they were good. And special instruction of theirs and way of life was to determine whether they were to be in perfect conditions that God wanted them to be. So as a result of going astray, going away from God's way, now results in this kind of degradation. We find that if, for example, if for example, Mungu amepeana vitu vyenye inafaa wanadamu watumie ili wakuwe jinsi fulani, alafu mwanadamu azingatie haya aliyoambiwa na Mungu, utapata kwamba atakuwa kulingana na mapenzi ya Mungu. God is giving our intentions to humanity. But once we go away from God's way, we are going to miss something now starting to drop out. So in my traditional thinking, I think that whatever we are going through nowadays, or whatever gender is coming out, is due to man running away from God. Because tukisoma that Genesis 1:27, natuambia, so God created man in his own image, in the image of God created he him. Yeah? Tunapata hapo hatupei sasa spectrum, tunapewa binary. Yeah, tunapewa male and female created he them. So in God's original plan, that is what He did. But we are going to undergo some degradation as time goes because of running away from the will of God.
So you think that us being, there are people of different races, there are Asians, there are, what other races do we have? Red Indians, there's Africans, Red Indians, all these people, all these variations are consequences of sin.
Yes, I think so. Because in natural phenomena, we find out that initially water used to come from the ground to water the surface. It was not to be rain as now we see. The effect of that rain on some plants are very adverse. So tukipata kwamba mimea inakuwa, alafu there is a hailstone raining on the plant and it is destroyed. The destruction, can we allude it to the original intention of God? I think it is as a result of now the rain falling to eat even some plants. even to us. Some things will come to us because of sin, may not even be our sin, may be the sin of those who lived before us. Okay, that is what I'm meaning.
Yes. Myself, I think. Okay, myself, I think radiation is good. Sabina, but I didn't see her that I was asking with somebody else. Please make it brief because this is not what I want us to talk about today. So I'll just have Sabina and then her, and then we close on that. We don't have to make a conclusion.
On my side, I may not have good reason, but I think variation is good. And that's why even God, I don't know whether it's God, he forbids insect that in breeding because it breeds weakness. In breeding, it breeds weakness. So what we are after is variation. So I think this variation comes from God and it is good.
Do we see that, or do you understand what she's saying? So do you understand what she's saying?
Such diversity brings about adaptability. Is it
No,
a
that's not what she's saying. Let her repeat. Like why she's bringing the point of why incest was forbidden, or even I think in the animal world, isn't crossbreeding actually encouraged?
Yes, it is.
Where do we get those classes of incest? Incest with the Leviticus one. The Leviticus, you have to look at the context, the story of the king, why God was sparing them. Because God didn't want the Jews to be like the other nation.
But even from the scientific point of view, are people encouraged to let me say to mate within familial lines?
No, they are not because this is
Well, no, like really in terms of religion, I know even Muslims are cousins marry in the Muslim. But I'm asking from a scientific point of view, is mating within familial lines encouraged?
It's not.
Just trust you, Joy, on what we are talking about. I don't need that. I think I'm loud enough. I think I'm loud enough, but so what I'm asking is, was God intending people to do what was to be discouraged later?
I don't think I got.
You don't understand me. Okay. Was mating,
give an example.
as in, I don't know, Adam ate some daughters, was said, allowed to marry his sister in that time, which in our time is being termed as incest. So, was God intending that to be good by then, but bad in our time?
Okay, I think we close on that. We start talking about that, it's going to become just something of itself, something completely different. But my point in asking about this, which I think is what I want to ask you guys now, when we look at humanity, when we look at all these variations in humanity, what do we think? What do we make of that? Do we think this is abnormal, this is disgusting, or do we think, look at what we have now, look at how different we all are, having just come up from these two genetic makeups. What do we think when we look at humanity today, when we look at all these variations?
Give an example of variation.
I talked about race. Gladys, what do you think when you look at humanity and you see all these variations on the basis of race just alone?
Nature. It's nature. It's not because of saying I look at it as nature.
You look at it as nature.
Yeah. Nature is not because of sin, it's nature.
Okay. Steve, Sabina, I'm not seeing your hand at any point. So maybe try to raise your hand. Because I'm missing your hand every time you talk and then you feel still.
I would say the same thing. That is what from the example of given example. So for those who are farmers, they know that when you plant, for example, maize, you can plant maize that is white, but in that same maize form, you plant that there is yellow and white maize. So I tend to be inspiration, giving them something.
Yes, Steve.
And let's make up of that.
Yes.
I guess it's a very difficult question to answer because they merit that some genetic effects do occur, and they are definitely God wouldn't have wanted these effects to happen. So I guess we must, like most of what we would do is we get at God's mind. We don't know exactly what God was thinking exactly. So what we are doing is guessing at his mind.
What I think is that it is better to know whether they were God intended or whether they were not God intended, they have happened anyway. So like if you have black people, if you have black people, it doesn't matter whether God intended them to be black people. That question becomes null and void because we have black. And you can't do anything about it. It's not like you can change their heart. So I think it's better to think of like this is what is, what could have been is that not an position. Whether they will be black people in heaven is irrelevant. I think it's irrelevant when it confuses more. But there is merit that what you were saying, the fact will not happen is because the genetic combination is very natural. You could pass a gene, per se pass a gene, then a gene could be a recessive gene so that it doesn't show in this child, then it shows in the next child, then it's a boy and a girl, and they are all manner of variations. So again, it's great that it happens naturally, but whether it's God intended or not, I think it's irrelevant.
And that's why I'm focusing on trying to compare race and sex. I think in the minds of most people, when they look at all these variations in the world in terms of race, they think this is beautiful. They think this is amazing. Look at what we got from. Look at everything we got from just two parents. Then when it comes to sex and people see all these variations, people begin, people just step away. They don't think it's beautiful anymore. People begin to think it's disgusting. So I think the point that I was trying to draw was to compare how people look at variations in race and how people look at variations in sex. As Steve has mentioned, the question for us is not whether or not it was God intended, but I'm just focusing on how we look at both these two things. People give one eye to race, but they give a completely different eye to sex. And I think what we should ask ourselves is why why do we feel the need to look at these two things differently and have different opinions on whether or not it's beautiful or just disgusting?
I was asking, do we think that they are beings? You know they are beings?
Yeah, do we think they are genos? Is it all about genetic variation, or those who think it's something that it is seen to be like that, was not God intended? Because if you bring the issue of God intention, you can be very technical. So do you think the issue of being sick is genetic variation?
We are not talking about whether it's God's intention or not anymore, because there are even conditions or illnesses that are genetic, right? Like children are born with this condition called maybe a sickle cell, or there's a condition called spina bifida, I think. And it's something genetic. Genetic mutation occurs somewhere. Because when you look at the process, this process that Steve is showing us here, first of all, the process in which a sex cell, say a sperm or an ovum, is formed, it's a very complex process. It's a very complex process, and a lot can go wrong. It being a very complex process, a lot can go wrong. It doesn't have to be. Yeah, it can result in just diseases, deadly diseases, and for other things it can be. It's not something serious. It's just a variation.
Thank you for the explanation.
The reason why I ask that is because I have a problem with colleagues who look at things and say that, they go back to the God's original intent. They say, see, God intended people to be like this, you don't have the issue of things in there. So they end up saying, no, this is sin, penis, all those stuff. They cast science in this issue genetic in the dustbin. So that's the problem we should have.
Okay.
Thank you for the response.
All right. So we'll walk away from that. So I just want us to look at gender. So when we talk about gender, we are talking about, or you come across three things. So there is gender itself as a subject. There is gender identity. And there is gender expression. So when we talk about gender, Steve mentioned that gender is a social what? It's a social constant. Keyword being social. So when you talk about social, we are talking about society. So gender itself as a concept is something that has been invented, or something that has been defined by society. So when you talk about gender, these are basically social definitions of what it means to be, let me say, male. This is not accurate. So there are social definitions of what not male. But there are social definitions of what it means to be a man or a woman. So I am not saying that this is binary. I am just trying to make you understand. So when you say that there are social definitions, what do we mean when you say that there are social definitions? So society comes and says, this is what it means to be a man, This is what it means to be a woman. So there are characteristics that you may see that will tell you that this person is a man, or there is behavior that you will see that will tell you that this person is a man, or there is, say, a way of dressing that will show you that this person is a man. So there are all these socially defined characteristics of what it means to be a man or what it means to be a woman. So gender is a concept. When you talk about gender, when we talk about sex, we talked about in the binary world there is male and female. When you talk about gender, in the binary world there is what? There's feminine. There's feminine and there's what? And there's masculine. So like society would say that what does society say about being feminine? Let me tell you what. Then you guys will tell me what. Tell me what society says. See your society. How about what you do in society? You say society. Say here, let me give you a stat. When you see skirts, you think skirts are feminine? You think let me say something like suits. Think a suit is masculine. What else? No, don't tell me gender roles. Me, I've given you a good example here. Skirt, suits. One
Big masculine.
Muscular, and then what's the
Curvy. You have to be
here?
being curvy. The curves.
Sorry,
No, not on a curves. Curvy.
but then first dance. Are you sure what you answer? What is gender? What is gender? What did I say gender is?
A social
It's a
construct.
social construct. What is so there is societal definitions of characteristics of what it means to be male or female. How is masculine? How is being masculine? Does someone see the problem in masculine being described as?
Maybe to mean strong.
Okay, to mean strong. Yeah, I think I would accept that. So that being a woman means
Weak.
okay. Something else? Steve?
Ignorant and knowledgeable.
Ignorant and knowledgeable.
Yeah. Society thinks women should be
Ignorant, knowledgeable. Being aggressive is considered masculine, no? Being aggressive. So, sorry?
The temperament of being melancholic mostly to be associated with women. It's women who cry. It's women who are
So, the opposite of being aggressive is
being soft-spoken.
okay. What else? Kitchen. That's a word, please.
Being sympathetic.
No, one thing at a time. One can say kitchen, but I want a better one. Homely. Care, no, let me say homemaking. Let me see that. So what will that be here? I'm giving you all these examples so that at least you can have a good idea of what we are saying when you say masculine, feminine. Breadwinner. I children, because you guys are just talking about adult things for kids. So dolls and cards. Yeah, toy cards. Or even when you for example, the kind of conversation that you will have with say a boy, a young boy, when you meet them. What will you have the same conversation with them, or will society have the same conversation with them, same conversation as they're having with a young girl? For the boy, they will ask them about their future. What are your plans for the future? And what are some of the conversations that you would see society having with girls? Yes. So here you'll talk about serious things like your future, finances, career, and all that. But for women, they probably talk about marriage and maybe beauty talk, hair, and all that. Do you see the difference? Maybe even in terms of color, black is considered masculine, the color pink is considered feminine.
Men being considered warriors and women as being boundary. They need to be protected by men
Yeah.
and so on.
Yeah.
Men being leaders,
Yeah.
by women being servants. That's what she always telling me here.
Okay. So I think you can, when you look at all these things, do you see how they are societally built? Like, what would you use? What would you use to back the idea that black is masculine and pink is feminine? William, why is black masculine and pink feminine? Doro?
Women are considered to talk too much, so they kind of think it is shouting. So black is laid back.
Look,
So yeah, now we've given that reason, but can we back that up? That men are, you say women are loud and they talk too much.
women are meant to be seen. So when people are
That's
shouting,
that. Achana na hiyo mic. You stand out.
Some of women, they talk too much. So
Women talk too much, and men are considered laid back. Yeah. So what would you use? What would someone use to back that up? Because I think that is another gender role. Yeah. That women talk too much and men are laid back. So being laid back is considered masculine. Talking too much is considered feminine. So is there any evidence to back these things, to back that men are aggressive and women are timid and tender, and that boys like toy cars and girls like dolls, that homemaking is feminine and being a breadwinner is masculine? Is there any evidence to back that up? Or where are all these things coming from? They're coming from society. It is society that has dictated this, and that is what we mean when we say that gender is a social construct. It is something that has been built from its roots by society. It is not something that is written anywhere or that is cast anywhere. This is something that society has constructed. Yeah, and that is how it has been. So being feminine, being masculine, this is something that society has constructed. So where are all these ideas coming from? What does society use? Because I don't think they just wake up in the morning. I don't think society woke up in the morning and say, "Oh, woman should stay at home and take care of the home, take care of the children, and the man should go take up leadership roles and find the money and all that." Society just wake up one day and say, "This is how things are." I think they don't have their reasons for doing this. Do they have reasons? One game. Reasons, guys. Do they have reasons? But we understand now what gender is when we say that gender is a social construct. So we've defined what gender is. But this is from the binary point of view. But should we be wearing binary glasses when looking at gender? Good point that Steve made last supper was there's what society has said it means to be feminine or masculine. So let's just if you're told to choose whether you're feminine or masculine, Becky, I want you to tell me whether you're feminine or masculine. Skirts or suits? What do you prefer? Skirts or suits? Skirts. Weak or strong? Ignorant or knowledgeable? Tender or aggressive? Homemaker, breadwinner? Dolls or toy cars? Are you more concerned about marriage and beauty and hair, or your future finances and career? Pink or black? Second. No, I'm not asking you this question. But before this, did you think Becky was feminine or masculine?
I thought she was feminine.
You thought she was feminine?
Yeah, I
You
thought.
thought she was, yeah, no problem. You thought she was feminine. I also thought she was feminine. But look at this. Do you think she's feminine? Everyone now. First class unasumbua watu.
No, you
Because every time you stand somebody, I'm just seeing people fighting. Sit down, the mic is going around.
You asked him whether he still thinks, so I was giving him the mic to respond.
Okay. Now this is to the class. Do you think Becky is feminine or masculine based on this information that she has given us?
Yes.
Yes, what?
She's not.
She's neither feminine or masculine. Now, if she was masculine, she would have ticked all the boxes here. If she was feminine, she would have ticked all the boxes here. But she's ticked some boxes here, she's ticked some boxes here. So where is she? So do we still think that gender is binary? Because she's neither neither feminine, she's neither masculine, nor feminine. So what is she? If there's only masculine, or if she's feeling a form somewhere, and well, they're never written feminine or masculine. And then, Becky, you have to tick one box. What would she tick? This is a binary world. A binary world, everything is running in a binary way. There's a form, she has to fill a form, maybe she's making an application somewhere, and she's given these two options. What would she tick? So is gender binary? Do we think gender is binary? So I think like sex, feminine, or masculine are both extreme ends of a spectrum, and there is a wide range of possibilities in between them. So being feminine is one extreme end, being masculine is another extreme end, and there is just a wide range of possibilities in between. And you can fall anywhere. Like if the information Becky gave us was true, then she's not here. She's not here, so she can't tick any of these boxes. She's somewhere here, in between. We don't even know where, unless we would construct like a tool, some sort of scale, the same way there's like the Kinsey scale. Do we know the Kinsey scale? The one for sexual orientation, we haven't gotten there first, but there is this scale that is used to measure what your sexual orientation is. It's a tool that was developed for that purpose. So unless we are also able to develop a tool, to show us exactly where, at what point on this spectrum do you fall. But that's not the point. The point is there is a wide range of possibilities in between these two genders. Is that clear? Yeah. So I think that's that. But then I think an important point that I'd like to make. So if we ask a question, gender, should we even be talking about gender? What is gender? The people I can't see. Dorothy. Do you think we should be talking about gender? Do you think we should be talking about gender? You've understood how we define gender. So do you think we should be talking about gender? This is gender, but this is gender in the binary world. Do you think we should be talking about gender?
It depends how we are going to talk about it.
This is how we are talking about it. We are saying being feminine is wearing skirts, being masculine is wearing suits. Being a masculine is being. She's saying if this is how we are talking about gender, then it's not right. So maybe we should adjust it. Then I told her to adjust it the way she said. And then she said, like for example, being feminine does not just mean that you can wear skirts. You can also wear suits. So I said skirts, suits. Okay. So I'm telling you to adjust. Adjust here. Do you agree that being ignorant is feminine and being knowledgeable is masculine?
Yeah.
So can you correct that?
Knowledgeable.
So here, so I rub ignorance.
Yes.
So this is how she had adjusted. She has adjusted it. Sasa niwaulize, if if being feminine if being knowledgeable is feminine, if being masculine can be described as if you're masculine, you can be knowledgeable. If you're feminine, you can be knowledgeable. So is there a point in masculine, feminine, if all of them be knowledgeable? Or um, if I'm masculine, I'm wearing a suit. If I'm feminine, I'm wearing a suit. Is there a point of having feminine, masculine, if both of them mean wearing a suit? Do you understand what I'm asking? So should we be talking about gender? Okay. So earlier I asked a question: where is society getting this from? Where is society getting these ideas from? Yes,
I feel like
if you don't raise your hand, I won't see you. So don't talk.
I think some of it can be influenced by the people. If you think of like the idea of, for example, Muslims, even Christians, some of the sexist behaviors and actions and ideologies are influenced by their religion.
Okay, so there's religion. Religion has a big influence. Do we think science has an influence on this? It doesn't. Oh, science is perfect. Science of evolution is also perfect.
Evolution. True science is perfect.
So science. We're just talking about science. Do you think these people can back this with science? Yes, they back it with science. They back it with science. So question is, what kind of science are they using?
Pseudoscience.
Pseudoscience. So science has developed what we call testers. Do you think men and women have different brains? Different brains.
Brains.
No.
No,
I
I
am
asked
not
you
doing
that.
that.
So science developed the idea of a male brain and a female brain. And they used various methods. They used their own methods. We won't go through that. But science said that structurally or physically, the male brain is different from the female brain. Like if you take a male brain and place it here, and you take a female brain and place it here, you will notice structural differences. If you simply take something like the skull, and they came to this conclusion based on measurements maybe that they made on the human skull or weighing brain matter. They weigh a female brain and a male brain and they see there are differences, or they take a particular part of a male brain and a particular part of a female brain and they look at it and they say there are differences. So they came to the conclusion that male brain is different from a female brain. And they could see that, let's go with the most basic one. But a male brain, for example, was bigger. And the female brain was smaller. And the bigger the brain, the higher you go, the higher you go. The higher you go, the lower you go. So the bigger the brain. I want you to see me the way you see you. The higher you go, bigger the brain, the higher the intelligence. What else? So yeah, we have the bigger the brain, the higher the intelligence, the better that brain is fitted for leadership roles, decision making, and the smaller the brain, and men have bigger brains, so they are more intelligent, and women have smaller brains, so they are less intelligent. So that's just looking at it just generally. So there are a lot of other things that those people looked at, and they came to conclusions about why men are different from women. And when they were making these conclusions, they knew what they were talking about. Science has proven this, that men are more intelligent, so they are better suited for such and such roles. They are better suited for the classroom to go and study and do whatever. And women, no point in wasumbua with studying, because their brain capacities cannot put all these things together. So there was that, and then yes.
Oh yeah, mine is more of a question. Nilikuwa naangalia as you were talking, and kuna this deeper explanation of what gender is. So hadi nafika hapo tunasema gender is defined as a classification of a noun or a pronoun as feminine, masculine, or neuter. Then kuna hiyo swali ya pronouns. Si tunajua pronouns ni he, she, it. What role does it have in this history ya gender? If it does.
But you see what you read there, that there are some nouns that are masculine, feminine, or neuter. It doesn't have to do with pronouns. Steve, I think Steve spoke about that last Sabbath, and when he told us in French, the French language, or in some languages, you find that there are some words like, say, a pen can be masculine, it can be feminine, it can be neuter, or a bottle can be feminine, can be masculine, or can be neuter. I don't think that has to do with pronouns. So now you're asking about pronouns.
Yes. So
Yeah.
kama we are going to discuss history yote ya gender, haita affect pronouns.
Okay, so that was a question that was asked by Faith. Yeah, but we'll get to that. Yeah, so I would say my point here was to show that these people or society has science to back them up. That there are male brains and there are female brains, and these structural differences account for the differences between men and women. And yeah, of course, there are a number of other things that we can talk about, because it's not just the structural differences. Actually, the idea behind the male brain and the female brain is because this was discredited. Women have smaller brains, men have bigger brains. This was discredited. That was discredited, and then now they hopped on another beast called hormones. So they started talking about hormones, and in hormones, a theory was born that's called the brain organization theory. Where when a fetus is in the womb, at some point there is testosterone that is produced. We understand that testosterone is found in both men and women. Yeah. So they say that when the fetus is in the womb and it's a male fetus, of course the level of testosterone produced is higher than the level of testosterone produced in a female fetus. So the theory was this high amount of testosterone that is produced in a male fetus. So this testosterone travels to the brain, and so it masculinizes the brain such that because of that, a male brain is born. And since there is a lower amount of testosterone that is produced in a female fetus, it means that a small amount of testosterone goes to the brain of this female fetus. So as a result of that, their brain is not masculinized, it's done what? It's feminized. And so as a result of that, they saw, okay, so this is how the male brain is formed. There is a brain that the brain of a male child has been masculinized from before they are born, and the brain of a female child has been feminized from even before they are born. So it's called the brain organization theory. That the brain is organized even before this child is done what before this child is born. So they say hormones, because hormones are responsible for the development of genitalia. But then they say hormones are not just responsible for the development of this genitalia, they are also responsible for the development of what? Of a male and female brain. So this is some of the science that these people are using. And so since we have male brains and female brains, they can explain why men are aggressive and why women are timid. They can explain why boys like toy cars and why girls like clothes. So point is, society can back this up using science. Then the question will be, is this true science or false science? So that there is more to look at concerning this, but I don't intend to go further into that. I just want to explain what gender identity is and what gender expression is, because I think my time is almost up. Yeah, my time is up. So what is gender identity? What is gender identity, William?
I think this one this no individual choose to identify themselves
As what and what not?
okay, an individual, they can decide to identify themselves as male or female, or they may decide not to identify themselves with either.
Okay, so gender identity, an individual can decide to identify themselves as male or female, or neither. Does someone see the problem in that? Yeah? You're missing something. Somebody identifies themselves as being male or female. No one is seeing the problem in that case.
As either being feminine or masculine.
Yes, so we are not talking about male or female. When we talk male or female, we are talking about sex. We are talking about gender identity. So you've seen that, William? Are you okay with that? With us replacing male or female with feminine or masculine or whatever or anything? Yeah. So gender identity is the inherent sense of being either feminine or masculine or anything in between or neither. So um, it comes from within, it comes from inside. No one tells you that. It comes from inside. Say I am joy, I am female, and I don't want to say but I am joy, I am female, and say let's use Becky. So that's Becky. She is female. She feels like she likes wearing skirts. She's strong. She feels like she's knowledgeable. She's tender. She's both of these. She likes dolls. She likes cars, and she likes the color pink. She also likes the color black. So, but then let me say that's not typical in society. Let me say I am joy. I am female. But yeah, but I like suits. I am strong. I am knowledgeable. I am aggressive, breadwinner, toykers, future finances, career. I like the color black. So my sex is female, but I feel all this. Yeah. So this is a tricky subject to talk about. Why? Why is this a tricky subject to even talk about? Steve, you are really fine. How about your fantasizing? So why is this tricky subject to talk about? You don't even talk about gender identity. Why is it a difficult subject to talk about?
Because, like, I don't know, like when you're talking about, when you use the few things there on the board, like that's a very simplistic way of doing it. Like the simplest way, not at least communicate something. But because there are so many nuances, so many different things that make up gender, and people can it just takes a lifetime and then discover one topic. So it takes people a long time for someone to identify their thing. So tricky because now society has already one way of doing this. Tricky because it's difficult for someone who wants to identify people from how society has really defined what it identifies. So then you really even come out without this. I don't know whether people feel by why it's tricky. I guess it's that complicated. Certain research is very complicated.
So thank you for that. I agree with that. But I think what I was looking for was okay, we've spoken about gender, and now we are talking about gender identity. And when I asked, should we even be talking about gender, what did you guys say?
What did people say?
What did you guys say when I asked, should we even be talking about gender?
I guess no. Find
Some say no. They say no.
Did everyone say no? Did everyone agree that we should not be talking about gender? Because when we say, because this is gender, being feminine or being masculine, and it's all this is what society has said. And these things that society has designated for a particular gender and something else for another gender is based on what? what did you call these persons? So society has cultivated pseudoscience to build this. Yeah? Society has cultivated pseudoscience to build this. And what is pseudoscience? Is pseudoscience anything, something to build anything upon? It's not. So what happens to this whole structure? It falls because you guys have told me that a suit does not, like in the ideal world, yeah, like us here, we understand these things, yeah. This is out there in society, but here in the movement, is a suit able to identify for you whether someone is masculine or feminine? It's not. Is being knowledgeable able to identify for you whether someone is masculine or feminine? Is toy cards or is a doll able to identify for you whether someone is masculine or feminine? So should we even be talking about masculine or feminine if we think a girl can play with dolls, a boy can play with dolls if they want. A girl can like toy cars if they want, a boy can like toy cars if they want. Steve can wear a suit if he wants, I can wear a suit if I want. So should we be talking about masculine or feminine if this is what it means to be masculine or feminine? And this is based on what? That there is a male brain and there is a female brain. But if there is something that we are really advocating for right now, is there is nothing like a male brain, there is nothing like a female brain. This brain organization theory it's all just nonsense. There is nothing there. So should we be talking about gender? Should we even be talking about masculine or feminine? Shouldn't be talking about that. And that's why if we are finding a problem with this, then what is gender identity? So let's work with society. Let's work with this skewed idea that society has. Let's assume that we don't know everything. This is what we know. Now I'm just trying to help you understand what gender identity is, because it is out of this that we have transgender people. This is a transgender person, someone who their biologically assigned sex is being female, but they are female. And this is what society has said. Like society has said that actually there's a theory. There's a theory called heteronormativity. And this is the idea that there are two genders, and that gender, so there are two genders, feminine and masculine, and that gender corresponds to sex. Such that if you're feminine, you're female, and if you're masculine, you're male. So this theory says that there are two genders, and that gender corresponds to biological sex, and that the only natural and acceptable sexual attraction is between these two genders or these two sexes. That's heteronormativity. That's not my point. My point is, to try and show you guys what society, the idea that society has, that there are two genders and two sexes, and sex always has to correspond with gender. But that is what society is saying. But for this person, is their sex corresponding with their gender? For this person, is their sex corresponding with their gender? If their sex corresponded with their gender, they'd be female and feminine. But for this person, they've been born female, but they identify more with things that society has identified to be masculine. So what happens? This person is what we call transgender. They are born, they like suits, they like wearing bow ties, they want to say, I'm female. So I like wearing suits, I like wearing bow ties, I like to keep my hair short, I don't like skirts, I am not interested with beauty or anything of that, like typical feminine. the typical feminine person that society has created. So since society expects that sex corresponds with gender, and this person unfortunately, their sex does not correspond with their gender, this is what Steve was talking about. That what will this person resort to? Since they really feel like they are comfortable being masculine, and society cannot accept them like this different sex that does not correspond with their gender. So this is what Steve was saying. What they will opt for, one option is they will try to change what? They will try to change their sex. They will try to change their sex so that at least their sex will correspond to their gender. So they will subject themselves to gender reconstruction surgeries, where they try to, maybe just get rid of their sexual organs and replace them with, like for this person, they try and get male sexual organs so that at least they feel like normal people within society. Now, how does science explain gender identity? They say, yeah, these are people who are transgender person, is a person who was born with a certain biologically assigned steps. Say this person here, they were born with female sex organs, but what? Does anyone know how science explains this? What is gender identity according to science? How do I end up? What is, I feel like I'm masculine or I feel like I'm feminine? What is that? Where does that feeling come from? How does science explain this? Or how is gender identity explained? They say, well, I was born with female sex organs, but my brain is male. That's why I feel like I'm masculine. I feel like, I like suits. I am knowledgeable. I am aggressive. It's because I have a male brain. But what have we just said? Like an analysis of all these theories in the 21st century has told us what? That there is nothing like a male brain or a female brain. So what really is gender identity? Does anyone see what I am saying? Don't you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? You do.
I just want to say what I'm saying.
But first, do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand the problem that I am facing? Like when I say what really is gender identity?
I just want to give my views the way I've got.
Alright.
Okay. What I understood from this is not gender one. So if there is not gender identity, there is not gender identity. Something which has been created by this gender based by the feminine and the masculine. So at the end of the day, somebody tries to identify. It only just want to identify feminine. So we go to society because of what society has described how a feminine behave or not as. So to me, there's no gender identity.
Lamek, when I say what really is gender identity, did you understand what I asked? Why I was saying that?
Yes, I can say, for me, actually, I still try to look at the characteristics that we use, maybe to define some relation between and masculine. How we are balanced, we say, like, both can be strong.
So
So now,
let me stop. Let me stop you there. Did anyone follow? Did anyone follow what I'm saying before I concluded what really is gender identity? I agree with all of you guys about all this masculine, feminine stuff.
But then, like,
Please pass it to her.
so when we enter to all gender is based on the societal allocation.
Not that far back.
Yeah. Then what I understand, gender identity, ni wewe mwenyewe. It's your choice, it's how you personally feel. So the moment tunajaribu ku identify gender identity na the gender that tumepatiwa na the pseudoscience, hizo zote haimatch, haiingiani, because now this is me, this is Linda, feeling different, but the society has a different view of what gender really is.
Someone is. I was here. Yeah. Yes.
And like, I don't know whether it's not like
No, I want you to tell me what I say. Not
what you say. The exact part you say.
the idea.
I'm just saying, like, by conforming, there are people who will take a lot of things, but two things that I think are pointing to what you're saying. The idea of binary, conforming what the world of society already says. Not that, not, but the second thing. So, like, kuna hiyo issue imeleta hapo ya science na before that imeleta ya gender even there we will talk about. So now it brings the idea gender identity there, gender is not even an issue to be discussed. Then what about gender identity? Then it brings it to the same kind of yes, gender.
I'll just repeat what I said as we finish. Yeah. So I asked, how does science explain gender identity? Or how does science explain, like science has a way of explaining sexual orientation. They tell you this is what happens, this is what happens. So how does science explain gender identity? And I say, say a transgender person, what will they say about themselves? I have this person, I have female sexual organs, but I have a male brain. But what are we questioning? What are we fighting against? The pseudoscience. The idea of there's a male brain, there's a female brain. So if these people are saying, or if this is how science is explaining gender identity, I have these sexual organs, but they're saying pseudoscience.
No.
Yes, like
Pseudoscience,
right? So if this science that we've spoken about say that I have female sexual organs, but I have a male brain. And we are fighting against this science that there is a male brain and there is a female brain. So question is, what really is gender identity? There is nothing like a male brain. Because they say, I have a male brain, that's why I like all these things. That's why I feel, that's why I like these things, that's why I feel masculine. It's because I have a male brain. Like, yeah, I was supposed to have a female brain, but something happened and I got a male brain. But is that even right? Do you even have a male brain and a female brain? And that's why I'm asking, what really is gender identity? That is how, if the basis of the explanation of gender identity is male brain, female brain, what really is gender identity? If we are striking this down. Do you now see my point? So, like I said, there is a lot to look at in this because you have transgender people. So when I say what really is gender identity, I don't mean there's nothing like gender identity. Like there's no transgender people out who are define it. That is not what I'm saying. When I ask what really is gender identity, I mean we should look for other explanations for why we have such people. But this is not an explanation. Saying that I have female sexual organs but I have a male brain, that is not an explanation. Because there's nothing like a male brain and a female brain. So when I ask what really is gender identity, I mean we should really go back and if scientists go back and study and really look at what gender identity really is and who these people really are and why they are the way they are. But I can tell you for sure that it has nothing to do with them having male brains or them having female brains. It has nothing to do with that. Yeah, that's all. So again, we haven't finished the study, but I think that Hata when we leave it here, it's a point from which people can maybe pick up their research or study material and continue looking further into this. Yeah. So yeah, we finished there. I have taken too much time. But to finish, gender expression is basically how you express what you feel. If I feel feminine, I will express it the way society expects me to express my femininity. If society says I have to wear skirts and I feel feminine, I will wear skirts or I will behave in a particular way, and that is how I will express my gender. So that is basically what gender expression is. Yeah, so let's finish with prayer. Heavenly Father, we are grateful for this time. We are grateful for the study that we just had. It's a lot of information, confusing even, but we are grateful that Lord, we are able to understand even a little of what we are studying. We are grateful for a time such as this when we have the internet to enable us to be able to get all this information, and we have material that we can study and that we can no more live in ignorance, but that our eyes can be open to what is happening around us, to what is happening in society, and that even if it's just a little bit, we are able to understand what is happening and that we are able to understand our fellow men and why they are the way they are. And we are grateful for all this information. We pray that as we have a bearing in our lives, in how we associate with one another, in how we associate with everyone around us. We pray that we may find opportunities to continue to look at these subjects and understand the bearing that they have in the message of equality. But we pray that God will be wise and that we may not end up in pursuits. Guide us in all that we do, in our associations with one another, and even as we come to the end of the Sabbath about to begin, where we happen about we pray that God our thoughts continue to be to and that we remember what our purpose is, what our job is, and what is really expected of us. We are grateful for the day that has been, and that we have been able to enjoy the blessings of the Sabbath, and that continually we are able to find opportunities to gather together in your name and to be together as a children. Guide us as we leave this place.